Share screen. Where's share screen? Here. Share screen. This screen. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. How China turns desert into fruiting oasis. Last time we talked about that, I didn't talk about the technology involved. So today I will be more concentrated on the technology, what kind of technology is being used and being developed and how they do it. So most of that will be in the form of videos. Most of the videos will have either English subtitle or speaking in English. But I think one of them is in Mandarin, so I will have to translate that at the time when it is speaking. But okay, we were looking at technology. What kind of technologies is being developed? In this particular photo here, you see there's a lot of squares on the sand dune. The reason that it is in square is that the square is put in by men. People put them in. There were different techniques to make these squares. First, let me explain why we need the squares. Now, in a desert, most of the surface is covered by sand. Sand can be blown off very easily. If you plant anything in sand, when the winds come, the plant is either covered by sand and therefore it can't survive, or all the sand near the plant will be blown away, exposing its roots, and therefore once the roots are exposed and when the sun comes in, the roots get dried, the plant dies. So one of the problem of greening desert is how to get plants started. To get plants started, it must not be covered by sand during a sandstorm or wind, or it must not be uprooted so that its roots becomes bare. These squares are put in there to stop the sand from moving. The idea is that you have something sticking up from the sand. So when the wind blows some sand towards that barrier, then the barrier will stop the sand there. So the sand, instead of blow up, it will stop there. They have figured out that if the square is about 1 square meter, 1 meter by 1 meter, then it has a very good effect of stopping the sand from moving. And that is the reason of these squares. So we are now looking at how they can make these squares.
The Kabuchi Desert once threatened to bury its urban areas in sand. But years of comprehensive measures and dedicated efforts by enterprises and local people have successfully stopped dangerous desertification in its tracks. New technologies like polylactic acid sand barriers have helped this desert region bloom with new vitality. Starch materials totally eco-friendly.
我们这个聚乳酸呢，就是用我们普通的淀粉材料来做成的。淀粉经过发酵，然后再经过聚合和熔脂坊来喷丝，最后呢，经过我们的针织工艺和桶装的这个工艺来做成我们这个砂掌。
It's spun more firmly to the ground.
我们这个材料呢，由于是采取了针织制造工艺，所以呢，我们这个材料呢，它贴地性呢特别好。再一个呢，它因为贴地性好，所以它的结构也非常稳定。这个作为固砂砂障呢，防止这个降低近地表的风速这块呢，我们能降低40%。防止近地表的风沙流的情况呢，我们能降低50%。而且我们这个胀体结构是非常稳定的。
It's time durable, 8 to 10 years service life.
那么由于这个钢体材料跟地表的接触非常好，所以呢，风呢吹过来它也套实不了，所以我们抗套实性非常好。目前呢，根据不同的气候条件和立地条件的区别呢，可能呢，炒房格呢能使用1年半到3年，大概我们目前知道，沙柳沙帐呢，不同的气候区呢可能3年到5年。那么我们这个沙帐呢，现在现地实验的结果最少能够使用到8到10年。
Low cost.
从造价这块呢，我们这个沙帐呢，可以说跟炒房格和沙柳以及芦苇等等有可比性，特别是跟沙柳和芦苇，我们可以说处于同一个价格水平。那么比其他的沙帐呢，我们更有一些优势。如果要按年均平均的使用，或者说年均的成本造价呢，我们有绝对的优势。
A good choice as a supplementary material.
我们国家的紫砂现在在全世界应该处于一个领先地位。这样情况呢，就是我们国家不断的有各种材料，那个紫砂材料、新材料出现。它这个材料呢，有什么好处呢？就说一个是在材料特别匮乏的地方，就自然条件特别恶劣的地方，没有像炒房格呀、沙柳这样材料的地方，它可以作为一个补充材料。
The innovative technology not only makes it easier to build sand barriers, it also makes it easier to transport the material. PLA sand barriers can also hold the desert back for a longer period of time, without polluting the environment. The progress of science and technology offers better protection to the Golden Desert. When desertification is controlled, resource advantages such as landscape resources, mineral resources, and land resources constantly spring up. Over the past 30 years, desert expansion has been curtailed and reversed. Shrubs and trees are now growing on around 1/3 of the Kabuchi Desert area. More than 500 billion yuan in ecological wealth has been generated due to this expansion. Sand control technology in the Kabuchi Desert is highly praised as a global model. It provides a Chinese solution for combating desertification and Chinese experience for promoting the sustainable development of human beings. People in the Kabuchi are still exploring new ways to live in harmony with nature.
Okay, so that is the first part. We see that when all these barriers put down, the sand typically pile up. So in the middle, the sand level is a bit lower. That is because of wind. So all the middle part blow over to the, but you can see that it's not uprooting anything. It's just a few inches down. So in the middle of these squares, they are now able to plant drought-tolerant plants. Some of these drought-tolerant plants will need about 3 to 5 years to establish. So if we can stabilize the sand for 3 to 5 years, then the plant might have a chance to establish. Once the plant established, then it will provide the barrier for further movement of sand, and then they can move on to the next part of the desert. So that is the idea of building all this square. Here is another one, quite similar, I think.
大家好，欢迎来到爱豆日记。
Okay, this one is in Chinese. So you are looking at some of these environment. One of the problem is it is due to humans' overuse of the material.
尤其在中国，这种情况更加糟糕。我国荒漠化面积竟占国土总面积
The total desert area represents about 80% of the Chinese land area. So this is the method they used to do it. So you put straw on the sand and then use a shovel to push in the middle of the sand. But now they are using a machine to do it.
其实很简单，就是将人工铺
So they are laying down the straw
在原有的基础上，在草房格变得更加牢固。 固沙车可以将草方格
So
固定到上
as
下
it's
20
moving
公分，
across,
同
it
时
is
还配有
dropping
洒
the
水加
straw
固的
there,
装置，
and
这
then
一装备实
something
用。草
press
方
it
格铺设
to
一体
stand it
化，
up.
一天可以
The
固沙
little wheel
50
down
米，
there
提高了防风
also
固沙工作的
scatter.
效率，也减少了许多
Now
枯
the
燥
wheel
复杂
we
的
just
工
saw
序，
is
节约了
scattering
人力。
seeds.
固沙机目前已经投入使用，在甘肃腾格里
Okay,
沙
so
漠。
we don't need to see all that. Okay, in this part, the main idea is to show you that truck. Now that truck is it with straws, and then as it lay down the straws, and then a wheel will press the straw down to stand it up so that it form a barrier. And then next to the straw, there is a little wheel with pipes outside there. This is planting seeds. So by putting seeds right next to there, so when the rain comes, the seeds will germinate, and therefore with the help of the barrier, it will stabilize, and then hopefully they will start to grow. So that is another way to do it. Now, another problem with sand is that sand doesn't hold water. If you make a little valley or a little bowl in the sand, you put water in, water pass through the sand almost readily. And because sand doesn't hold water, that means for plants, you must have constant supply of water. How do you do that? Okay, we have a example here by using a new material. Now what they're doing is mixing a lighter color thing with sand. So it is this lighter color thing is what they have developed. So they are mixing it in. So the ratio is less than 1%. So you mix about, and then you pour water in. So you see water is being held there. So he is now making another similar thing, just using sand. And then now they pour water in. You will see the water immediately goes away almost instantly. That means sand cannot hold water, whereas the water is still there. So using this technique, they can now convert large tract of sand into soil and start planting. Okay, we don't need to see the rest. Okay, so what they're doing now is they develop a material. When you mix that material with sand, the sand can hold water. When the sand can hold water, that means you can start planting on that sand. So because the mixing ratio is less than 1%, so they can do it using tractor. They have a tractor going through mixing this material into the sand, and then smoothing it out, then it immediately converts into a arable land. You can start cultivation. The problem here is that the advantage is that when you start the agriculture in a desert, then they can start right away to be organic, because a lot of farmable land in China has used chemical fertilizer, and they cannot be claimed as organic until the soil has been greatly improved to become organic. But you are starting with a virgin land. There's not much vegetation there. Pesticides haven't been used in this area for a long time. There's no chemical fertilizer, and they started as an organic farm, and therefore they can produce a produce which demands a much higher market value. And that's one of the reasons they will start to reclaim some of the desert areas. Because first of all, the desert area has no pesticide before, had no chemical fertilizer. They started off as a pure organic farm.
Little, if any, rain and scorching temperatures. Not exactly ideal conditions to support vegetation. But turning that logic on its head is this desert in North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region.
According to our calculation, there are over 70 kinds of crops growing here. Many are not planted by us, but they just grow themselves.
Crops like corn, tomatoes, sorghum, and sunflowers, transforming more than 200 hectares of sand dunes into an oasis, all within 6 months. It's all thanks to new technology developed by researchers at Chongqing Jiatong University. They developed a paste made of a substance found naturally in plant cell walls. When it's added to sand, it's able to retain water, nutrients, and air.
The costs of artificial materials and machines for transforming sand into soil is lower compared with controlled environmental agriculture and reclamation.
The research team has big future plans. This fall, it hopes to transform an additional 200 hectares of desert and possibly more than 13,000 in the next few years. The method could be promising for China. In 3 years, the country hopes to reforest 50% of degraded desert land that can be treated. By 2030, the United Nations is aiming to reach zero growth of desert farmland around the world. So China's breakthrough experiment in converting sand to soil is promising for making land seemingly hostile to life fertile ground. Francis Ko, CGTN.
Okay, this video explain a little bit about that mysterious material. This material is plant-based, developed in a laboratory in China, and that has been used extensively in China already. So they are going to expand their size by another 200,000 acres next year, and then eventually they want to increase as much as possible, because China, having about 21% of the world's population, has about 7% of the world's farmable land, arable land. So increasing farmland by converting deserts into farmland is very much a encouraged activity in China anyway. Now, of course, the next question is, where does the water come from? How they can get the water? Okay, let's look at it. Oh, sorry, I've forgotten about this particular video. In this particular video, you see that there is some kind of red sand there. So that's another material developed by the scientists in China. Now, that red kind of sand has a very high surface tension to water. That means basically water will form a droplet on top of this sand. So by digging up some of the existing sand, put a 2 centimeters thick layer of this red sand onto it, and then you put back your original sand, then this red layer will keep the water. The water cannot go through that red layer, and therefore you create a landfill which you can hold water. Then of course the water must come from somewhere. The last video told you they collect from rain, from underground water, as well as recycled water. So let's look at how they recycle water in this particular video.
6 years ago, there was only desert here. Now throughout this picturesque lake and forest represent the front line against expanding desert in northern Xinjiang. Mr. Guo Deyong is the man to help transform the landscape. Over the past few years, he and his team planted 500 acres of trees and constructed a vast reservoir which has turned parts of the Gobi Desert into wetlands.
When we arrived here in 2009, the sandstorms were frequent and could often shroud entire cities and farmlands nearby. Had we let that continue, the desert would have advanced and threatened to swallow the inhabitable oasis.
The threat was urgent, and the key to the puzzle was where to find enough irrigating water in the vast drylands. The answer came from Guo's sewage disposal plant, which recycles all the wastewater in the city of Altai.
From here, you can smell this unbearable stink of the sewage, which comes all the way from the toilets and kitchens of tens of thousands of Altai households. And here, the bigger pieces of the rubbish are now being grinded and then filtered out of the water. But this is just the start of a series of complicated process of the cleaning up.
After initial treatment, the sewage remains highly toxic. The plant set up giant sewage settling tanks, inside which they use microbes to trigger a string of biochemical reactions. This turns unwanted materials into sludge, leaving cleaner water at the top.
Here, if you look through the microscope, you can see countless worms we've cultivated eating up unwanted worms in the water. This is the most sophisticated part of the whole cleanup, which requires some cutting-edge technology for this remote part of Xinjiang.
Even after the treatment process is complete, the water remains unfit for drinking. But the plant's chemical examination director says it becomes clean enough to irrigate trees and even to raise fish.
The first test is the sewage, and you can see it's very dirty. The second is water treated in our plant. The third is tap water in Altai households, and the last is water from the river. By comparison, you can see the water we treated is even clearer than the rest.
For now, Mr. Guo is using the water to irrigate forests. But he has an even bolder ambition, irrigating crops and vegetables in a land where water is scarce.
Theoretically, these vegetables are fit for eating, though you might feel uncomfortable knowing they were irrigated using what used to be sewage. This is still an experiment, and it's under careful review by the government and professionals.
Mr. Guo's project is just a small part of Xinjiang's ecological recovery. This area of Altai alone has seen its forest expand from less than 50 acres in 2009 to over 600 acres today. Local authorities say the tree planting will continue in an effort to build an ecological Great Wall to defend against encroaching sands.
It might be hard to believe. Just 6 years ago, this place was all Gobi Desert, just like the terrains beyond this forest. The ecological recovery of Xinjiang needs a combination of technology and investment, and most importantly, the determination of people who realize the irreversible consequence of desertification on this unique landscape. Han Peng, CCTV, Xinjiang.
6 years ago, there was only desert here.
Okay, green growth. Now, in order to sustain these movements, it is important that the farm created there can make money. That means you must be able to change it into a money-generating business rather than a purely from government subsidy. The initial research may be subsidized by the government in different universities and laboratories, but once the technologies have been developed, it needs to be converted into commercial use so that the process will not be reversed when the subsidy is gone. You must make it into a continuous growth. So they are talking about this green growth.
China is changing fast, and so are its maps. These changes occur so quickly that it's often hard to find them on the latest maps. This is a forest near Ordo City, northwest China, in the middle of what many maps still label as a desert. The Maosu, China's fifth largest desert, the size of Massachusetts and Connecticut combined, is now about 80% afforested.
未治理之前，已经获得其的森林覆盖率不足3%，在治理以后，植被覆盖度90%以上。
The Maosu is one example that shows how Chinese people are fighting for a better environment while maintaining quality growth. Over many decades, China's rapid development took a toll on its ecologies in some areas. Polluted water, degraded land, and smog. But the Chinese people quickly realized the problem.
中国的经济增长也付出了非常大的生态环境代价，但是中国的环保意识觉醒是非常快的。
The conflict between development and the environment is that it's hard to simultaneously be green and growing. However, China has found a way to resolve this conflict, and the key part to its solution is green growth. It's the world's first solar farm bearing the image of a panda built in Datong, Shanxi province. Datong, once known as China's capital of coal, ranked third on the country's worst air pollution list in 2005. Now, the city is leading in green energy growth.
自从熊猫电站建设成功以后呢，行业内的新能源也不断的涌入大同。大力发展这个清洁能源啊，像这个风力发电呀，像光伏发电呀，降低了企业污染物的这个排放水平，提高了我们这个城市的这个空气质量。
More than 500 kilometers away, Yan'an, in Shanxi province, known as the cradle of the Chinese Revolution, had long endured economic hardships. Just last month, the entire city overcame poverty about 20 years after a green revolution was launched.
我们的农民要脱贫，就要发展产业，而且从我们现在的这个苹果3D 苹果产业，从市场的销售上和价格上，以及我们的产量上和品质上，我们的贫困户只要有产业，脱贫不是问题。从这个卫星里头上可以看出来，就是从99年到现在，我们的这个绿色大概向北推进了将近200公里。
Beyond deforestation and green energy lies a notion that many Chinese people believe in. Staying green drives growth.
我们应该追求绿色发展繁荣，绿水青山就是金山银山，改善生态环境就是发展生产力。
It only takes a few seconds to show geological changes on a map, but it can take decades for them to actually happen on the ground. In fact, it can take generations of efforts.
能不能治理住，那就是看天和我两个斗。但是我别人黑夜都干，我1年360天干，我就不想这么干，我就宁可自杀累死，我也不能让佛山欺负死。
也是很艰难的走过来了，这个从无到有啊，这个从小到大，从大到强啊，就是靠着这种干劲儿吧。我们花了非常多的心力，经历了很多的困难，通过这些污染控制，我们全是每一点进步。
都能够对空气质量带来改善，能够让老百姓的这个呼吸的空气啊更干净一些，天更蓝一些。
The Green Revolution is sweeping across China and has become a pivotal part in the development of the world's second largest economy, and its influence goes far beyond. NASA data indicates the Earth has grown greener over the last 20 years, and China contributed 25% of the global net increase in leaf area. Over the years, China's established a green roadmap for development for both itself and the world.
Okay, the last part is vision and opportunities available.
以前的我的羊200多只，现在是700多。我以前的生活是我们这个地方是电木楼，原来的生活来了也，反正我们这个地方的原来一直样的生活是不是那么个地道的，反正中等生活。现在的树比原来多，种的多。
过去呢，就是这啥地根本没有这种树。那么经过这个他们这个科学方面呢，就发展的，那个搞啥地方长起树来。现在是不在这个低处起来树，高处也能栽上树。那么也有了树，也有了植被，它这个沙了，高处又下刮，它再刮不起来，因此它沙气就越来越低，越来越低。
我来这打工，像你来这从4月份来这儿，就要护干草，就是就浇水。拔草，这是一个扶贫给的干草，这是扶贫户。原来在家里边种地是没有收入，我是扶贫户。这些异地来了，再给我放一片干草，叫我要护这片干草，一年完差不多弄个3万来块钱吧，也得弄个。这生活是往定了。我的儿子啊，在东上那边哪个煤矿我也不知道，煤矿在下面要赶紧挖煤。他来这边工作的话，他没有危险，然后吧就是就从上煤去了，没有地里边每年赔钱，种了人家化肥钱回不来，种地钱回不来，每年赔钱。这雇过车来，雇过上来，这收场也不好，这就不行。来这边这最起码生活是稳定住了，将近下来还能有点存款吧。
Okay, I will stop the presentation here and let you ask questions. Anyone?
I'm going to disagree with one throwaway remark that was made in that in the penultimate video. It said that China was the first country to turn desert into arable land. I would argue that it was Israel which started turning desert into arable land when the country was formed in 1948.
Probably. But anyway, you
very minor.
You just remember the videos I get is mostly from public domain, and among them you can be sure there is propaganda. Okay.
Of course.
So just keep that in mind.
I understand.
But at least I'm showing something, which I suppose is real in the sense that we can see the video. Obviously, there is something behind the video we don't see. Okay, but at least we see something good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, just a comment. Yes, it is very encouraging to see those sorts of things. When that lady who was interviewed at the end, those seems to be starting off an extremely low base. So 4,400 a year is better than nothing, but it's kind of a long way short from the what people in the city might be earning as well.
Yes, obviously, China was very poor. Okay, so there are still very, very poor people. But when she talked about he has about $4,000 per year, she is no longer considered poor. But in any other standards, to us it is poor. But to her, it's much better than the life before. But at least she is seeing hope in the future. And then you do notice that when she go back, use that thing to sweep on the bed because of the sand. Otherwise she was sleeping in the sand. So you can imagine how tough the life was there before. But anyway, I'm glad she is getting a bit more happy. That's what we want to see. And I'm sure as China continues to develop, the average living standard will increase. But just remember, not too long ago, about 30 years ago, China was the world's cheapest factory. So you can imagine how poor they were at that time, and compared to now, I think they will find it quite interesting. Yes, please, Sam.
With the one of the clips was about using purified sewage water to irrigate the desert areas. And I couldn't quite follow what was happening on that. Were they transporting it in trucks then from the city to the area?
No, the cities was very close by to the deserts.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, because you can imagine China being a very populous country, so people are everywhere. So they just need to pick up any city, not even large, near this desert, and they were quite a bit of wastewater, and then it's a matter of using that wastewater to irrigate part of the desert. Once the desert is irrigated, they will start to build another human habitats there, and then we start pushing forward and forward like that. So this is what I understand as their plan, is gradually push the desert back. Another interesting thing about the Chinese desert is that there is a lot of underground water in the desert. Just remember the geology. The western part of China is the plateau. We have melting ice right there in the Himalaya. Some of that melting ice obviously becomes surface river, the Yellow River, the Yangtze River. But there will be a lot of underground river flowing from the west to the east, and some of them actually flow right past underneath the sand, the desert. So if they dig about 8 meters into the sand, they probably will find water. So water is not exactly scarce in China deserts. But
what about as rainfall?
The rainfall is low. The rainfall is about 100 millimeters per year, or up to 250 millimeters per year. So the rainfall is low, but there will be a lot of underground water flowing through because of the geology. A lot of the melting ice will go underground rather than as surface water. So it's a matter of tapping onto that.
Albert?
Yep.
You said that they try to make things economic. It's got to pay its development back.
Yep.
And with taking the desert back into forest, that's very difficult. Would they create a debt on that? What do you think? They would create a debt on that project, and the people running it would then have to pay it back over a long term?
No, there are two parts here. Some are converted back into farmland so that people can farm. Some is converted into forests. There are different functions here. The forests will be able to stop the sandstorm because of trees. And the farms will be able to supply financial to the people looking after the forest. So it is looking at a much larger scale. They are talking in this whole region. What part of the area is reserved for forests? And this is paid for by the other activities in the same region. So that it becomes a closed system and then you can sustain.
Yeah, so they mix the farmland up with the forest areas.
Yeah. And then as the forest mature, some of the timber will be harvested. And then we'll create new forests and then harvest some of the timber and then keep some of the trees. And the Chinese has very long-term plans. They are talking about planning ahead at least 5 years to 25 years. So they are thinking long-term. In this region, the government will be supplying for the funds for, say, 10 years, 20 years. After that, it will start to become self-sustainable by incorporating some farmlands there, some fruit trees. For example, we see that there's a very large apple farm in the Xinjiang region. And the people just, the apples there was very good. Therefore, they don't worry about the sales. It's just a matter of producing enough to satisfy the market.
So you believe that the development money over the long term, that's paid by the government, and then they've got producible land and people employed and people sustaining themselves, and that's good enough. And then if there's taxes to be paid, they're paid from then on.
Yep, and then at the moment in China, there's no tax for any farmers. Farmers are tax-free at the moment. Okay, it used to have a huge tax. At the moment, all the agricultural activities are tax-free. But when you look at the province as one unit in the whole province, then obviously the province income. Let me describe it another way. Remember, all money are printed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the government is able to print some money for a province government to spend, a local government. So the national government start printing money, give it to the local government. The local government use this money to sustain a community in the region. And part of that community will start producing variable produce, which is again sell to other. Now, so if you look at individual families, you will say, oh, this family is not making money because it is working for the government. But you look at the whole province as a one unit, you will see the federal government input as well as that province output of produce and so forth. So when you look at that level, if that can be sustained, then the Chinese government won't worry about printing some money at the beginning and then later on cut off the printing and then let it run by itself. Yes, Sam?
That sounds...
Oh, sorry.
That sounds like then the farmers don't own the land, it's a community farming.
Sort of. The ownership in land in China is very interesting. Now, here we own a piece of land, then we have the land for perpetuity. We can pass it onwards and onwards and onwards. In China, you have only 99 years. So you can still pass on, but after 99 years, you have to renew your land license. Hopefully, we don't know what happened yet because 99 years haven't arrived in China yet. Chinese government is only 70-something years long. Okay, so we don't know, but looks like what they are trying to do is after 99 years, the land use will be automatically renewed. So you get the use of the land, but not the land itself. You get a 99 years right to use that piece of land, and then it can pass on, hopefully forever. That means the land belongs to the government, but you got the right to use the land. So if the government do need the land, then they will replace that with another piece of land, so that your right to use the land transfer from this location to other location.
Yes. And I would imagine the license, when they came up for renewal, there'd be a fee for that, so the government gets some return on their...
Maybe or maybe not. It depends on the financial situation at that time. When the government can print money, they don't need tax. Why? You print money.
They're no different to America and other countries?
Yeah, no different to anybody else. By the way, I just saw a piece of news. Our two largest mining company, BHP, is that BHP or BPA?
Yes.
And Rio Tinto.
Yep.
The two largest mining company has just signed a deal with Chinese mining company. From now onwards, China is going to pay our Australian mining company in digital renminbi, not even paper.
I've got a couple of comments, but Sam was first.
Sam, go first. Sorry, Sam.
Sam, you're muted.
Sam, turn on your mic. Yeah.
So, now we have been talking about on the printing the money, but why and then for the farmland, the people in the southern area, they have a farmland, and the people will not move around. But for the people in the Inner Mongolia, the Xinjiang area, those which people has not settled down on the same place. That's because all the cow and the sheep have been eaten all the grasses away, and the diseases keep coming in. So we have to let the people to growing all these grasses for themselves, and when they grow on themselves, the people will not moving around. Education for the people will be stay on the same place. And that's why the government will be just less invest or paying more money out to them, then they can take care of it by themselves.
Yeah. So one of the methods is actually let all these herding communities to stop herding, let them stay at the same place. There are several advantages and disadvantages. The reason why they will need to move around is because of the grass. But if you can convert into something like our farm in Australia here, you have a very large farm with sufficient grass for your herb, then you probably don't need to move around that much, and the life will be better. So I think, but I haven't seen any policy about that. So I need to look at the policy, see what kind of policy they have for that kind of actions. Yeah, anyone?
Yeah, I'm intrigued at what you say about 99-year leases, and I presume it is not a coincidence that the British Empire, British Commonwealth had a 99-year lease over Hong Kong. I presume
it's coming from
17.
there. 99 years is now 9 is the largest digit. We are all 10 digits, so 9 is the largest digit. So you either 9 years, 99 years, or 999 years. But 999 years obviously too long.
Yeah. Now, can you tell me what percentage of land is on 99-year leases, and what percentage is
I have to find it out
completely
and tell
owned
you
and
next time.
operated by the government?
I have
Sorry?
to find it out, and I don't know. I don't have that information offhand, so I will have to find out. And if I can remember, I'll let you know.
I presume there is that the government still owns a large
Well,
percentage.
the government owns whole China.
It still operates a large percentage of the land.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Now there is a very large difference between our political system and the Chinese political system. The number one is the Chinese political system is a single party system. The Chinese Communist Party will forever the ruling party. There's no other party that can rule in China. So there's only one ruling party, although there are other political parties, but these other political parties must respect the right to rule by the Chinese Communist Party. No other party can rule. Now, because of that it is quite similar to a emperor's family. Okay, if you are in that family, your family owns the whole China. Now, CCP is the only ruling party. This ruling party owns the whole China, including people and everything. So the government owns you. Put it that way.
Now, this is a complete and utter side issue, nothing to do with China, but where you're talking about 999-year lease. About 40 years ago, Flinders Street Railway Station, well, before 40 years ago, you used to have platforms that were numbered 10A, 11A, 12A, and 13A. And when they got a computer which only had room for 2 digits, they renumbered the platforms 13, 14, 15, and 16. So very similar.
Wow, remember the 2000 crisis for the computers when they're going over the millennia? Yes. Yeah, the same thing.
Which of course never happened.
Because they take sufficient action to mitigate the problem.
That is all just only because of 0 and 1, which is on the computer Fortran system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
and
at that time,
think,
memory is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the next biggest change is energy becomes even cheaper. Let's say by an order of magnitude or 2 orders of magnitude, then humans' life will change even more. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Mary?
We're just, the solar farms that they have are enormous, which is terrific. I think you mentioned last week, though, the any dust and so forth on the face of the panels themselves really impacts or diminishes the functional capacity of them. So do they have somebody who goes around in the mornings every morning to polish them up?
Yes. Yes. These employ a lot of people. So solar farm is not employee free.
Is it like the street cleaners then that
you have somebody cleaning all these panels regularly? Yes. You can't leave it alone for too long. the other issue is, you know, the land underneath the panels, they are very good farmland. Now, one of the problem with this is when you have undergrowth like grass, the grass might cover the lights from the panels. It was one of the problems there. So instead of allowing white grass to grow, they actually will start to grow some grass, which will let in a herd of lambs or sheep, which will eat all the grass. So you have a combination of a farm, an animal farm, and a solar farm. So they are starting to do that.
Those lamb will be eating all the grasses under
the panels. So
all the problem there.
So the only problem you have to plan ahead. You put the panel sufficiently high so that the animals will not be able to disturb your panel. Then you can actually grow other things underneath the panels to allow the animals to live there. So are on the ponds. Some of the ponds have solar panel covering it. Yes, Sam?
Yeah, you see, that is the reason why you are saying that the panel have a certain height, so that they can do the farming for those sheep and so eating around. And some people have been talking about why the China's high-speed train always on the high level. That is also the similar thoughts on that way.
Yep. So that the land underneath can be used. You only need the pallet, the size of the pallet, and then everything up. And then with the tracks up there, that means you are not blocking the traffic across the track. If you have a railway track, then you either have the pedestrian going under or going over.
Yep.
But now they put the track up, so everything go under. No problem.
And all the animal, also the cow, also they can just floating.
Yeah, all animals, etc. And then the track up there is safe as well. You can't climb up there and do any damage to the track.
Yeah. And the train now is increasing up to the 500s.
Yeah, they are planning moving up the speed to 500 now.
Oh, yeah.
But not yet. I think the maximum speed at the moment is running at 350, but they are planning to go up to 500.
Yeah.
And then the next one is going up to 5,000.
5,000 or 11,000?
5,000. I think it's 5,000 at the beginning. The underground.
This vacuum tube.
Yeah, vacuum tube. Okay. Anyway, thank you, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you, Albert.
Okay, see you next week.
Thank you, Albert. We'll see you next week.
Okay, take care. Bye.
What are we talking about next week, Albert?
Don't know yet.
You've got that video I sent you about Hong Kong, and of course, Hong Kong was, and the protests were back in the news this morning, so that might be something.
I think that will be completely off in the future because of Hainan Dao is the one which will grow, and that will be punished soon.
But anyway, I will find out what I will talk about next week. I don't know yet. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. See you.
All right.
Bye.
See you, Albert. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.